Thank you. I will basically dial it back for a moment. We just saw some beautiful examples actually on digital twins as used by SMEs. And of course, you might actually say, well, sometimes in the news, they are completely different things as well. And that gets the headline, that is the hype. So when you see pictures like on the right-hand side, critical infrastructure protection with resilient systems, or when you say someone is saving energy, like in the Deloitte building here in the Netherlands, where I'm working at TNO, where energy savings are the goal of the games, or the smart industry in the high-tech sensors, where you have whole factories with pieces of equipment like those of ASML with millions worth equipments. Just, I mean, the machines you see here, that's something like 150 million per piece. These stories are digital twin stories as well. And that is, of course, always this digital twins are at the heart of tomorrow's system. That is the hype, that is the story. Here, however, we are looking sometimes at the things which are a little bit more down to earth, but both of them are, of course, digital twins. And you have seen by now that digital twins come in that sense in many aspects. What is always the common denominator here is that they mirror aspects of real systems, processes, and products. And by the nice comparisons we have seen earlier, you can distinguish between the model, the shadow, or the digital twin, like in this case, where you have the live data feeds so that you can monitor, you can assess, and you predict. But all of that links to something. It links to the business process. And this is what I'm going to talk now about a little bit in the beginning here, so that the purpose of the digital twin, the why, is an integration with the business process, a change of the business process in the end, so that something good happens to the people using it. And that is what we advise every company to do. You start with the why. And in this manufacturing industry, even if I scale it away from all the other examples that I've given you, this why can look very, very different. You might be about smart logistics, that it is a just in time, that you have the fitting inventory. It might be about the scheduling on your factory floor. It might be about the monitoring of these systems on that floor so that you have less consumption, that you are more sustainable. In that sense, optimization goals, it saves you money. It might be about model-based control, that you have flexible manufacturing, made to order, not size one, a low change over effort in all of that. All of that could be the purpose of a digital twin. And then, of course, you have topics like preventive maintenance, downtime prevention of these machines and things like that. But you already see here that there are differences in terms of what is actually the twin about and where does it connect to, which data is relevant in this. And this is why we say you have to start with the why. You have to understand that, because digital twins are not free. Even though we have the tool vendors who very often say, hey, there's a great solution out there, like Arrowhead. It's open source, so it can be built without buying things which are incredibly expensive. They are still not free. There's an investment of time, of expertise, getting the right people, having them spend the time on it. You might buy in services. All of that happens. That is something a company in SME needs to understand. It is an investment that offers a large return. You can easily find examples that consumption for energy or other resources goes down considerably. You can have downtime prevention, which in the first year returns the investment in the digital twin, and after that just pays off. All of that is possible, but it is an investment, and the investment links to a business reason, and that is why the why of it, why digital twinning is entitled to have its own strong rationale. Now, this is why TNO within the Change to Twin project developed the compass tool and the assessment, and this is what I'm talking about. Something that helps connecting business and the KPIs of the business with the digital twins purposes. So you see here in gray on the middle of the slide quite a number of these KPIs, and on the lower side a lot of purposes of digital twins, and of course you have seen some of them now in the examples. You have heard my colleague Jeroen speak about them. But we stay with that a little bit for everyone to understand that if you, as a digital innovation hub, go towards a company, that this purpose at the beginning is key. So what we are talking about here, virtual design. Now then it's about the model, not a digital twin, a digital model, customer engagement. When the company, the SME wants to show the customer, this is what you will get. Make them exciting, get the order right, things like this. The commissioning work. So basically having an installation process where you say the moment you switch it on, it better be right. No big debugging time on the side of the customer. Or, and we just had that a little bit with the Q&A, feedback towards engineering. There is data coming in, and the data should be used to build better products, to have the next generation of systems right. All of these are different purposes. And the thing is that not only these purposes differ, but the consequences of them, the needs for the digital twin. When I'm about customer engagement, well, then I don't need this temperature analysis of a building to tell me where to have more efficient technology, isolation and things like that. So the digital twin will obviously be very, very different for these purposes. It means that different data is considered, all of that. And so in that sense, understand purpose. Think it's about responding to something that is happening with monitoring, optimization, scheduling, so that you realize in a live process something is going on. Think about whether or not it's about stability of your processes when unscheduled downtime is an absolute no-go, like when you're using equipment like with the price range I just mentioned. Or think about whether or not this is about control. It's about a smart system. Maybe it's just a room where you want to have mood lighting, like our industrial partner Philips likes to do. So all of that are different purposes, and we have to understand them. Now, for going from the purpose to the full digital twin, we built a roadmap at TNO. That is the 7 steps method. Now, if you join me tomorrow morning, I will go into detail on that one. What are the steps to take to have a digital twin? But first, I would like to point out one thing, especially for someone working at a digital innovation hub, where you see that your responsibility is to help an SME. And I think this message here is very essential. Going towards digitalization, working with digital twins is a journey. The journey is not the same for everyone. Now, if anyone, especially a tool vendor, would tell you, I have the silver bullet for everything, please show them the door, because it's simply not true. However, when you take it as a journey, making several steps, you of course also understand by that analogy, you might have very different starting points. Some people might already be on the road to digitalization by, for example, having these models, but they don't have a digital twin and they want that, but different starting point. Digitalization is already happening in their place. In any case, it is a journey, and a journey has its own needs too. And every company doing this has to understand that certain requirements should be met, like all in management, please convince them that do it or don't. But if you do it, then don't send mixed messages, stand behind the project, have an open and bi-directional communication with end users of the digital twin, all of that. Have competence for decisions in-house. Now, we did this assessment, for example, in the project with Benjamin in Berlin. That was a beautiful example. Someone in the company who says, I understand enough to call the shots. I need understanding, consultancy, which can help me by that. But in the end, there's the clear understanding, I will take the decision and I will not hand the decision over to someone to make it for me. So that is another aspect of this journey. And in the end, it's about people using the digital twin, so work with them to find out what is really needed and understand that this is about change. So help everyone on board. This is another responsibility for the companies, but of course the digital innovation hubs can help with that as well, at least to make the companies understand that this is about change happening, and that means training might be required. People might be afraid. They might ask, hey, does this mean that tomorrow my job is no longer there because the twin is doing it? Well, most likely not, but your job will change. So all of that should be addressed the moment we go on a journey of digitalization and digital twins. But in any case, the why is only the first step in that journey. And for us, the whole journey has these 7 steps. The beginning is the why. And for the why, we develop the compass assessment, which will be the reminder of my time today. After that, it's the question whether or not a company is ready for digital twins and which technology they might need if they are actually not ready for it. If, for example, they need such an IoT framework that you have just seen. And then, of course, helping them from the point of view of a digital innovation hub, there's the Change to Twin marketplace, where you can find the methodologies, the technologies, the consultancy to heighten the readiness of a company to build, to get it right. And maybe for some of them, there is an out-of-the-box solution. Maybe for some of them, the road will be in-house development. And maybe for some of them, it will be the puzzle from the Change to Twin marketplace. But in any case, it will be several steps for which you actually have seen examples in the previous presentation. Now, after this quick introduction, I will focus now on that Change to Twin compass. Now, the compass tool in itself is a tool for you to help people find out the why. Now, the tool was developed by my colleague Laura, who sadly cannot be here today. So I'm giving you the training on the tool. We will later have a video with the voiceover by Laura herself to actually show you the tool. The tool is live. You can immediately start using it. But first, I would like for you to understand the context of the tool, and partly it will repeat certain points that you have heard before. And the most essential one maybe is that for many SMEs, this is a struggle, but not only for digital twins, but for digitalization in general. So here you simply have to understand that digital twinning is one of many solutions, and it is absolutely fair that an SME looks at their problem space and understands that before they need a digital twin, before they make that step, they need something else. Now, from the point of your advice, you should be fair. You should not be someone who says, I have a hammer here. The hammer is a digital twin, and therefore your solution must be a digital twin. No, listen to the company and understand whether or not the digital twin is the solution that needs. So in that, the Change to Twin project supports the company in finding a solution tailored to the specific business needs. And well, of course, we hope that the digital twin is among that solution. Finding that solution, for that, the business perspective is key. Now, the assessment that we are using to help with the competence tool starts with understanding the SME's current situation and then looking into what their future business ambitions are. The key input here are the KPIs, the key performance indicators that the SME wants to improve in the future. And that, of course, links the business needs to the most relevant digital transformations. And in that process, we have a calculation that then indicates the relevance of digital twinning as a solution. And you will see that today. But before we start, this reminder, all documents are available, including this presentation. You can read all of that. And most importantly, there will be an additional session. So this is about a tool, about you learning how to do an assessment with this tool, which of course means you need to practice. You need to find out whether or not you really understand that. And we will have an additional session available where you can actually then question Laura to really go into the details over which I now go a little bit more on the high level. But now let's go into this assessment process of Change to Twin. Like I showed before, it has two steps. There's the compass and then there's the readiness assessment. And the compass is what we are talking about now. First, before you do such an assessment with an SMA, please prepare. And that also means share this preparation document and others. There's a Word document with the SME, make them aware of what is going to happen. Then ensure that someone who actually knows about this stuff is present from your side as well. This is not something where you say, oh, I have a tool that means I can send maybe a student who knows nothing about all of that. No, it requires a certain experience to follow process and to know where to deviate, to ask the right questions and to basically get it right. And also in terms of preparation, please be informed about the SME. Get a feel for the company. Don't enter these consultations with, I know nothing about you, so tell me. I would say business courtesy, and probably you have more experience with that than I do. Anyhow, the consultant that an innovation hub should send in such a process with an SME should, according to our experience, be experienced in doing interviews, knowing how to steer conversation, how the flow works. Should be familiar with the business topics, able to speak to management because we want management to be in the room, and be knowledgeable about digitalization and digital transformations. And partly this presentation prepares you for that as well. Basic knowledge of digital twinning is absolutely good. Doesn't mean you have to be an expert. But of course, know what you're talking about. So follow this training, knows how to handle the tool? Well, obviously so. Now then, in the preparation of the SME should indeed signal, yes, I have read the document, I understand that. I do understand that certain questions will be asked. So management level with overview of business strategies should be in the room. Otherwise, how could you discuss KPIs? But given that KPIs are what this will be about, gather information about that. You might very well encounter an SME who says, oh, I never thought about that. So this is why we prepare. This is why we want their clarity, that we say, okay, where do you actually want to improve? That is a question about which are the things where you perform, where you want to be better. So think about it beforehand. And then, of course, provide all of that information to the consultant who will work with you on that. So that is the preparation phase for the SME. Now, the preparation document in itself, that one is available to you. I will not open it here, but it summarizes many of the points that I made here and gives you additional details to that. Now, the digitalization assessment session, the Compass session itself, please expect something like this to be 2.5 hours to 4 hours, depending a little bit on the complexity of the problem and, let's say, how quickly someone is prepared to answer this question. And please go there as an innovation hub to the SME and talk to them one-on-one. So no solution providers. Why do I say that? Simply speaking, I do not want to see a push towards a solution while we are investigating the needs. That always derails the analysis, and it is just a different thing to understand the need of someone or to make a sales pitch. So in that sense, SME and Innovation Hub work together to find out what is needed, and after that we are thinking about solutions. Now, for the assessment of the business needs, no detailed technical expertise is required. So this is about business. And at the end, your goal is to understand the business opportunities and risks. The SME understands it, you understand it, and then with that, you identify how digitalization can help and achieve a business division. Now, it can be very useful to split all of that up into 2 sessions. So the first is to explore the current status and future ambitions. The second one is then to identify the relevant digital transformations and to determine whether or not digital twinning is of relevance. In the first one, it's very, very important to listen. Ask the right question, listen, but don't offer solutions yet or things like this. Just get information. In the second part, like I said, which might be an individual session, it's very much about having a conversation, making them understand, understanding them, and coming to conclusions. Now, with that in mind, let's have a look at the Compass tool. Now, it is built to investigate the KPIs and the business value, so the needs and the ambitions. And it looks very much about the Industry 4.0 digitalization levels. And then it indicates the most relevant smart industry transformations. You see it here, Dutch view on smart industry, that all these things are possible. And then basically saying, wow, wait a second, if you are, for example, in manufacturing and you want flexible manufacturing, then yes, a digital twin is relevant because of these and these and these reasons. And if you then say digital twinning is relevant, you know these are the purposes. So all of that is part of this Compass assessment. Now, to do that, the Compass tool has 6 parts. There's an introduction, there's then the investigation of the current status, the future ambitions, the digital transformations which are possible, then focusing on digital twinning, and then there's result with the dashboard. Now we found it useful to have it structured like this and to end up with the dashboard, which then actually often became a referral point to companies to say, wow, now I really understand my needs better. So, and this summary, the dashboard is then also something which gets reused in different places. So in that sense, we believe that we can offer you a valuable tool here with the Compass tool. So in that sense, it proved already itself. Now, to give you an overview first, but remember, you will see it live in a few minutes. The introduction is about explaining the goal of the assessment and the tool to the SME. This is why it is in the tool. Now, there is also some point here that you note down contact information of consultants and the SME contact. And there is a data protection statement, which of course has to be there for legal reasons, but also, end of the story, this is business. A company explaining, these are my goals, these are my performance indicators, this is where I'm lacking, invests a lot of trust in you in this conversation. So confidentiality is essential. You ask permission to use the data they give you for the analysis, and you don't share it with someone else. Then the real work starts, the assessment of the current status. Now, there are some mandatory questions here, like the why. It's about the identification of business critical KPIs. So it's about selecting the most important and defining them and defining the digitalization level that is behind that. In the end, you decide which digitalization level this company has. So that is, in that sense, indeed an assessment. There are some bonus questions in there where we advise to follow up on them to better understand the SME. What is the current offer? Which products and services is this company about? How the business operations looks and how their commerce looks? What is the process in marketing and sales, and how is that connected to the other things? Now, in using this assessment, the focus will indeed be on the KPIs. So you have to be familiar with the definitions of those. You have indeed to think about different terms here. Some companies might focus on the financials, just stating, I want to increase my revenue. But on the other hand, other companies might really say, no, I'm doing this digitalization effort on the operational aspects of my company. I want, for example, to reduce my costs. And that might very well be then about the reliability of my delivery of good products. Take Benjamin's story for him sending something to a customer, which then will break in space, is absolutely not acceptable. So there he has different needs than some other companies. So in that sense, think about these KPIs, know their definitions so that you can use them with confidence. And then, of course, it's about the digitalization levels, and you have seen this before from my colleague Jeroen. So that from everything is done manually, going to a fully smart, adaptive company where everything is based on data and the human is just saying, oh, nice, good day, everything runs smoothly. What am I even doing here any longer? Well, of course, that will not happen, but sometimes it looks like this is the vision. All of that is understood in different levels, and understanding these levels and understanding that digital twinning is happening on the right side here, that this is about monitoring, understanding, prediction and adaptation, but not so much just by, yes, I'm using an IT system. That is also something that you need to know before you enter this process. Now, then we go to the future ambitions. So mandatory questions for the future ambitions. What is the SME's vision? What is the ambition for the future? What should change? Think about the journey. At the end of the journey, where do you want to be? Works very well to have that in mind. Now then, scope and time period. This is not about wishful thinking. This is about a transformation project. So are you going to reach that in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years? Well, with 10 years as getting dicey, you probably know that very well. So, but have a good feel of the scope so that you can also say, okay, yes, this can be done or not. And then identify the KPIs that will be most important in that future version of the company. Then think about what does it mean in terms of this digitalization level? Where does the SME inspire to be at the end of this journey? So, bonus question here is understanding of their ideas about future business operations and commerce. Will be something really be different from today, or will just be faster, more efficient, cost-wise, quality-wise. So someone might go into new fields and have a lot more open discussion here. Some others just say, no, I'm really after this aspect and only this aspect, and I can have a very tailored solutions for that. But that should come out in this phase. Then there's a KPI-based mapping. So basically, this is about asking, hey, if you are interested in these KPIs, this is what makes you stay awake at night if something goes wrong, or is this where you see the potential for huge improvement in your companies? So if that is high, then the analysis tells you which digital transformation is of a higher relevance to get there. So the tool provides you with a short list, and you explain and discuss relevant transformations with the SMI. And then together with the SMA, you decide what are the 3 top transformations for this journey, for this project, for this introduction, maybe of digital twins. So get into that. Think about how the transformation will help to achieve the future KPI, and then discuss the knowledge of the SME in the relevant areas. And for that, of course, you have to understand what possible digital transformations are. So here you have the full list. We will not go through it, of course, now. This is homework in that sense, but you see here things like advanced manufacturing, flexible manufacturing. So again, just these two say, whoa, wait a second, both is manufacturing. What is meant by this? So, and here, for example, indeed, flexibility is about shorter changeover times between series and production. So customization, things like this, while advanced processes, well, you actually have seen some examples with that in the earlier presentations. So some other people might be about smart products, smart services. So basically the vision that AI goes into the product, that the product takes certain decision for itself based on data. But others might be about sustainable factory, the digital factory connecting to the value chains, to the supply chains. So all of these are steps that a company could take, transformations that might happen. And now the question indeed is where to focus, where to start, what to do. Now, after that, there's an estimation of the relevance of digital twinning. So based on the current digitalization level that you found out, and based on the aspired digitalization level, but also looking at the number of future KPIs to which digital twinning could contribute, the tool computes an estimation whether or not digital twinning would be helpful. Then, of course, there's the question of estimated effort. So because in the end, going this road, taking this journey is again a business decision. So an SME needs to understand that, yes, it is an investment, but how large? And that, of course, depends on the gap between where they are and what they want to be and all of these things. So in the case of medium and high relevance, the discussion actually continues here with seeing how the twinning purposes and the SME business fit together, which links, of course, also to future KPIs. And then, since you now have established that a digital twin is beneficial and that you know what the purposes will most likely be, you can continue with the 7-step readiness assessment to actually say, okay, now we know what we want a digital twin to do. Let's see if this company has what it takes, or, for example, whether or not they should actually make use of the marketplace to say these are the additional items that are needed at this place for this purpose on this journey. Now, for that discussion, of course, again, you have to be familiar with something, and this time it's the digital twin purposes. And I have talked about them in the introduction, but here is indeed a list of the definitions where you just say, okay, all of that is something that some company might want, but most likely indeed not all of them at the same time. And it is also something that came up earlier in the other presentations. Even if a company says, yeah, but wait a second, I need that one, and that one, that might mean that you can have one digital twin, which is suitable for these different purposes. But it might also very well mean that you say, no, there are data streams connecting to 3 different digital twins, which all represent an aspect of the system they are connecting to, and all of them then integrate into business processes of the company in different places, in different levels. So there are then different solutions possible for that. But the purposes, of course, are discussed in this step, not the technical solution. So this is why you need to be familiar with the twins purposes as used in the tool. Well, and after that, you press a button. And you get the dashboard with all the advice. It looks like this, but we will see this soon anyhow. But the dashboard is a summary of the most important information on one page. It's about the current situation, the future ambitions, the digital transformations, including then the digital twinning and its relevance. So now, after that, you finalize the readiness assessment. Of course, you share and discuss. And in case of a low digital twin relevance, well, help the SME still. It's what you do. So there is an identified digital transformation. It's not a digital twinning process, but still look whether or not you can help them. But in case of a medium or high digital twin relevance, continue with the readiness assessment to learn about the next steps to do on the 7-step methodology for digital twinning. Now, having said all of that, I first need some water. And then I will warn you about a set of pitfalls. So, filling out the compass tool is the goal of the assessment. Not so much. No, this is a means to an end. And you want to have a good discussion with the SME and to help them understand and identify digitalization opportunities. So this is not about the tool. This is about that understanding. I already said no solution provider in the room. Also, you having a technical solution already in your mind and just thinking about that one, how it would fit. No, please try to keep an open mind regarding solutions. Even if you or the SME already has some ideas about it, still the assessment more like this is a blank sheet in front of you. Let's find out. Let's be thorough here and neutral in terms of the solution. And then assume that it takes a while to get a good understanding. So speaking for a few minutes and then thinking, yeah, okay, I get you. I have seen this 10 times before. Well, not so much. It's a pitfall. And please be careful here against that. Basically, work against your own bias that you are that kind of person who immediately gets a company. Some people have that gift, but even they can be wrong, and most of us don't have the gift. So take your time to get that understanding. And then when you're helping the SME or when you're working together to fill out the tool, think about the perspective. So if, for example, Benjamin filled out this tool with Laura and me, it's about the perspective of space structures and not about, for example, the space organizations that are his customers. So about this SME, not the client of the SME. And this can become confusing. But it's about the business of the SME. So that is a common pitfall we identified. Now, then, in regard to the digitalization, please don't assume that the SME knows that digitalization, because they actually most of the time overestimate it. So, even if they tell you we are here, you ask, why do you believe so? Give me examples, explain that to me, and then you figure it out whether or not they got it right, or whether or not you actually say, no, maybe that's a little bit lower or even higher. Then the other thing is, don't blindly trust the scoring of the compass tool. Well, we put a lot of effort in this tool. We believe it's useful, but it's a guideline. And what we wish for is that you have expertise and experience for this consultancy with the SMEs. And if you really think about the company and say, no, I don't think so, this doesn't fit, I'm certain some other solution is better here because of something that they told me in which I just can't get really into the tool such that the tool tells me the outcome that I am certain of, well, then deviate. Take the tool's advice as an advice to you, as a hint. Consider it, whether or not you might be wrong with your feeling, but in the end, it's your advice. You are the pathfinder for the innovation here. So if you want to deviate, deviate. But at the same time, also, please don't think that after this training, looking at the video, at the material, you know it all. We saw that people get better in the assessment. And in that sense, have the experience, see how you use it, see which questions to ask, and take it as an learning by doing, also in the sense that you actively do that you write down your lessons learned, that you actually say, yes, I will do it better in this area the next time, but that part worked great, I will keep it like that. And then, of course, the last pitfall is thinking that I covered all pitfalls. Now, this assessment and the tools are proven by now in many occasions, but in that sense, they are still under development. It could easily be that you find out something where you say, now, wait a second, I was in that and that industry and it really didn't work. Well, let us know so we can improve it for you. And in that sense, please help us to improve the assessment. Send us an email when you have questions, when you have problems that you encounter, or when you just say, hey, I think about something here where I could improve the things for everyone. involved. And given the fact that now we are talking over 60 digital innovation hubs to whom this tool is available, that improve it for everyone has power. So make it so. And we want to go on with the 7 steps and the readiness assessment. Now, I will cover that one tomorrow, and I hope I will see you then.